Hey guys, Jackdaw here, and following my latest origin story concept, in which I told you the very tale of the Bard class origin, well, if you haven't checked it out, you should totally do that. But within this video, I shared a few concepts and plot points that Dragon Age 4 could surround or encompass. And one of these concepts was the very idea for our new protagonist in the next Dragon Age game to be a very descendant of Andraste, the Maker's bride. And I figured that in today's theory video, we could delve into this concept, considering if this could be possible, its relevance towards Dragon Age 4, and what would being Andraste's descendant mean for our protagonist. So without further ado, let's crack into this theory. First of all, who the heck is Andraste, Jackdaw? Well, if you asked this question, then let me point you into the right direction. You see, Andraste was a prophet of the Maker, a woman whose teachings served later to form the very foundations of the Chantry. And according to the same Chantry, Andraste was the bride to the Maker, the very being in which the church worships. Andraste was not always a prophet. She was born as a normal human girl in a fishing village by the Waking Sea, belonging to the Alamari tribe. However, she was captured and enslaved by the Tevinter Imperium, living under servitude for a while in a foreign land. She did manage to escape that life, returning home to her tribe. Andraste being back safe at her fishing village, she married Mafaraf. This marriage created a larger bond between the tribal borders, extending from the Fertile Crescent to the Banorn. At this time, Andraste was too weak to bear children. Her husband, however, already had 3 sons. Andraste, not having any blood ties to these children, adopted these sons as her own. She was able to eventually give Mafaraf 2 daughters, Ebris and Vival. So Andraste, living a marriage life back in her hometown, she was still troubled by her people's enslavement. She sung and she prayed to the gods every day, until one day the Maker answered her. He showed her all of his creations, such as the Fade, the rest of mankind, and many other wonders across Thedas. The Maker also showed Andraste how men had forgotten him, how man had simply rejected their creator and instead worshipped idols and demons. This was the entire reason why the Maker had left man to its fate in the first place. But Andraste's voice had changed the Maker. He had seen his creation return back to him in loving respect. Because of this, the Maker offered Andraste a place at his side, to rule the entirety of creation alongside with him. However much Andraste wanted to join the Maker's side, she could not, for she still feared for her enslaved people. She sought justice upon Tevinter Imperium, so she begged for the Maker to return her people from Tevinter Imperium. The Maker reluctantly agreed to give man another chance. So Andraste returned to her tribe and her husband, rallying all of the Alamari and marching for Tevinter Imperium. The Maker was beside Andraste the entire time. Everywhere they went, the Maker was there. Andraste sang to her people of the Maker, praising him, and the Maker was content with his creations. However, Andraste's husband, Mafaraf, was jealous that Andraste loved someone more than him, that she was so close to this Maker. So Mafaraf decided to betray his beloved wife. When the tribe finally reached the city of Tevinter, the very place in which Andraste was sold as a slave when she was younger, well, when the tribe arrived, Andraste and Mafaraf were nowhere to be seen. This was because Mafaraf had betrayed his wife. He had decided to sell Andraste to the Tevinter Imperium in exchange for more land. Andraste was sent to death via execution. She was offed in front of all of her people and her followers. Both the Alamari tribe and Tevinter Imperium witnessed the death of the Maker's bride. The Maker wept for his beloved. He cursed Mafaraf and mankind for their betrayal. Once again, the Maker left man to their wretched fate. Taking only Andraste with him, she sits at his side, still urging him to take pity on mankind, even after she was betrayed. So, in its simplest form, Andraste is a female version of our Jesus Christ. The key differences are the fact that Andraste was born as a human and was then taken to the Maker's side after death, unlike our Jesus who sacrificed himself and was born as the Son of God. Also, Andraste's ashes were actually found and were placed under strict security by a cult claiming that she had been turned into a dragon that overlooked this location. The fact that her ashes were found is also a key difference, but we all know what happened to those ashes, as our own hero of Herald actually found the the urn of Andraste's remains, the ashes themselves were able to bring Al-Eamon back from the brink of death. So what I'm trying to say is, in Dragon Age lore, no matter what the other races believe, you know, the fact that Andraste could have been the Maker's bride, no matter what the other races believe, Andraste was a living person who died by the hands of Tevinter, and she died for her belief, claiming to be the Maker's bride. So now we're on the same page in terms of understanding who this religious figure was in the Dragon Age universe. Let's jump into what my theory is based on. So I think that in Dragon Age 4, it would be really cool to be a descendant of Andraste. Now I will get into the logistics in a second, but in each Dragon Age game, we always have a new protagonist. But more importantly, each protagonist represents something vastly different from the next. The Warden represented the Grey Wardens, the Champion could have represented the Mage Rebellion or the Templar Order, and the Inquisitor could have declared an army, being either as holy or representing an order of peace. What if in the next Dragon Age game we are a hero seeking out the very existence of the Maker? Not to get too bogged down in it, but in the latest theory video I did, I said that I believed that Solas will succeed in terms of destroying the Veil. I think in doing this, bringing Thedas and the Fade together, we will then be able to discover the truth of the Maker and his existence within the Dragon Age. So I think that if we are a hero investigating the existence of the Maker, then being a descendant of Andraste would allow us more opportunities to seek answers and find this truth. But in terms of what it would mean for our protagonist being a descendant of Andraste, well, Andraste's ashes alone were able to bring a man from the brink of death back. So I think that our new protagonist would be able to have some rather unique abilities, perhaps immortality, some restoration abilities along those lines. Before I get into the logistics of it, from a plot sensical standpoint, I think it would make a lot of sense to be a descendant of Andraste. We are going against Solas in the next game, an elven god. If he succeeds in an attempt to destroy the Veil, then the rest of the elven gods will awaken and will probably side with Solas, then say some random hero who they've just met, which would be us. In this case, being a very descendant of Andraste, this war would be declared as a holy war, a god versus god kind of war, which would be epic. Us declaring ourselves for the Maker and Solas declaring himself as the next rightful leader of the Pantheon. I think it would also be very plot-sensical in terms of mirroring Andraste's tale, in which she brought battle towards the Tevinter Imperium. It was unfortunate for her that she had unreliable allies and a bit of a dick husband, but if we were to mirror her entire Chantry tale, then we'd be gathering forces across Thedas to rise against the Imperium. With Dragon Age lore, there's quite a lot of rumours and questions around Andraste and elven history. It's all up in the air. There are a lot of questions if the two were at the same time. What if Andraste was an elf? Could she have been an elven god instead? So again, I think mirroring Andraste's tale into our new protagonist's journey would be really cool. It would represent a religious tale in which we would fight against elven gods and we could find out the true existence of the Maker. But to finally get into the logistics of being an Andraste descendant, we know that Andraste only had 2 children that were connected to her through blood. These were her 2 daughters. From the tale, she did have 5 children, but the 3 sons were adopted and her 2 daughters, Ebris and Vival, are actually hers. There are a ton of rumours and false claims towards Andraste's descendants. In the Dragon Age wiki itself, it stated that records of Andraste's daughters were destroyed by Andraste herself. It's unknown if any of her descendants still live. Her daughters had taken their husbands' names in marriage. There have been many claimants in the centuries since, saying that they were related to Andraste, but the Chantry has disavowed each of them. To date, there are no known legitimate heirs to Andraste's blood. Now, if we actually look into the Codex, fortunately, I actually found a tale of Andraste's children in the game. So let's give this scroll a quick read. There are many misconceptions regarding Andraste's bloodline, Monsieur. This is due, I should think, to a general lack of knowledge regarding Andraste's mortal life. Understandably, considering the many cults that arose following her death, everyone sought to claim Our Lady for their own culture or claimed some aspect of her existence was a lie. All of them complete fabrications. My order has done considerable research to ascertain the truth. We all know that Andraste and the betrayer, her husband, raised 5 children. The eldest 3 were sons, Isaruf, Everon, and Herald. The rule of what was once Southern Thedas was split among them. Isaruf was given the west, what is today Orlais. Everon was given the east, which is today the Three Marches. Herald was given the central Planiscence, which is today Navarra. What became of these men and their legacies is the stuff of legend, and the majority of claimants to Andraste's bloodline links back to one of them. None of the 3 sons, however, were born of Andraste. They were born of the betrayer's concubine, Gillivan. People chose to overlook the fact that Andraste came from an Alamari tribesman, and that they were barbarians, not the Ferelden's we know today. They were savage warriors who took concubines in addition to their wives, and because Andraste was thought to be too weak to bear children, the betrayer took Gillivan to provide him heirs, which she did. After her death, the sons were raised as Andraste's own. Later in life, Andraste proved predictions wrong and had 2 daughters by the betrayer, Ebris and Vival. They were kept out of the public eye and not permitted to marry, though both had consorts. Ebris had but one child, Alivema, who perished on a voyage to Denerim less than a month after her mother fell to the plague, and without children of her own, the younger daughter, Vival, was more controversial, a strong-headed woman who defied her family by falling in love with a mage of Tevinter, Regulan. Vival and Regulan went into self-imposed exile as the Exalted March began, and into hiding following Andraste's betrayal and murder. What became of Vival and her descendants is largely unknown, for one primary reason: she had only daughters. Each of these daughters only had daughters. They married into families and took other names, and in the chaos of the Second Blight, all traces of survivors were lost. Andraste's true bloodline, if it exists, lies solely in the descendants of Vival, and the suspicion of my order is that it produces only daughters. Thus, the claims of your young man, Monsieur, are highly suspect. From a letter by Sister Galena of the Augustan Order Dragon 912. This letter was made literally during the Inquisition time period. I'm pretty sure they're talking about the Inquisitor by dispelling the claims of our Inquisitor actually being a descendant of Andraste, which I think is pretty cool, the fact that they were already discussing our Inquisitor and their ties to being an Andraste descendant. Within this scroll, we got a crap ton of information, so to trim the fat, if there are to be any descendants of Andraste, then it lies in the entire bloodline of Vival, Andraste's second daughter. Apparently, all of the children from this bloodline are suspect to be female. So does this mean that if any descendants of Andraste are alive in the Dragon Age period, then they must be female? What about other races? Would there be an elven Andraste descendant? The lines are really quite vague. Even the Chantry is actually unsure. In any case, this is just one other crazy theory in the Dragon Age, and I really hope we do get that answer someday. Whether it's actually giving us a playable protagonist who has the very blood of Andraste and is given special abilities, or if we're actually able to come across an NPC who is strictly a female because of this heritage, and maybe we meet this descendant and they can help us along the fight towards Solas and potentially to Tevinter Imperium. Maybe this Andraste descendant could be a new companion. Either way, I really enjoyed investigating the potential of our next protagonist in Dragon Age 4 being a possible descendant to the Chantry's most beloved prophet. I'd say it's probably unlikely that we'll get a protagonist that is linked to her, but still I think it's awesome just to investigate this, and we still could come across someone who has the very bloodline of Andraste, who is a direct descendant. But anyway guys, if you have any crazy theories upon protagonists in Dragon Age 4, anything surrounding Andraste, heck, if you have any zany, wacky, or even normal concepts for Dragon Age 4, then do hit me down below. But anyway guys, give me all your comments down below upon being a descendant of Andraste, or just coming across a descendant as a companion or just as an NPC who will help us against fighting Solas or Tevinter. For all your things BioWare, Dragon Age 4, Mass Effect's anticipated future, Anthem, and any other IPs I may steer myself into, well, you're already in the right place for all that jazz. But until the next one, I've been Jackdaw, and I should go.